Yeah, like, when you swipe your card to pay for something, my app on the back end is making sure that it's being routed a certain way, that your numbers on your credit card are being encrypted into a token and then come back so that we don't see, your credit card information, and it's PCI compliant. Like, it's on the back end, but it's super important if you care about swiping your credit card at the Home Depot and not having.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy HD, and we're back with another episode of the TechTual Talk, episode 61. And we got a lovely guest for you all today. Her name is Courtney Walker, and she is a product manager. Y'all know what this is. This is your first time tuning into the TechTual Talk. We talk about tech, lifestyle, music. We talk about everything, but also from a point of view of being a Black person in tech. There's not many spaces like this out here, so that's what I want to create it for. And we're about to get into it very quickly. So without further ado, let's bring our guest up. All right, so we're trying something new today, guys. If you're listening right now on the podcast, as far as Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you go and hit follow the podcast. And if you're on YouTube right now, hit the like button, share it out for the YouTube algorithm so we can, let everybody see us. But we're gonna start off with a icebreaker today. And I was trying to mull over these questions that I was going to give up for the icebreaker, but I think you could probably tell the most out of people if I said favorite TV show. I think that's a good one to start off with.
Oh, easy. The Office.
No, it's funny.
Down.
I've never really watched it. I know like some references from it, but I've never really watched it.
You can't know the references if you haven't watched it.
I mean, it'd be some stuff that y'all be saying that I know from The Office. And granted, I started off in help desk, so it's kind of like,
What's something that we say?
I don't know. I just know with something you said, like whatever the most popular thing is, I remember hearing somebody saying, they say, oh, that's from The Office. Okay. Or those little memes and stuff. They like, really known for their memes. That was too easy though. I thought you was going to actually like split some hairs over that one. All right, so
hands down.
All right, so R&B or rap?
R&B. That's safe.
Okay, it's safe. Why you want to go safe?
Well, is it like what I would prefer to hear, or what, like if I'm somewhere?
Yeah, what you prefer? What you prefer? Like what you listen to more of?
Probably R&B. Yeah.
Okay.
I had to be in my mood, like listening to rap. I had to get in my zone.
I feel you. All right. So top 5 R&B artists, male or female, it don't matter.
Skip. My favorite. I don't know. I listen to so much.
You only got to do top 5. Who's your favorite?
I mean, I listen to so much like neo soul R&B. Like I love Toni Braxton. I love.
Oh, you old school.
Yes, I like 90s R&B, like Joe, like Case, like 90s. Trying to think, Maxwell.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Yeah,
I'm
like older R&B.
Okay, so I'm gonna put you on the spot right now. I know what my pick is, but I'm gonna see what you're gonna say. We got a versus. Drew Hill versus Jodeci. I got Drew Hill. Who you got?
I don't want to have Jodeci because I actually didn't care for Jodeci that much. So,
but I think they the only ones that match up. Like, see, a lot of people forget like versus kind of is about more legacy acts most of the time, and then if you came out around the same time, that's why versus makes more sense versus when they try to pit people that's like from different eras together, it doesn't work.
So what about like 112 and Jagged Edge?
Oh, that's a good one. I think honestly, I'm gonna give it a Jagged Edge. I think now people but you know what though? This is what I didn't learn. I can't just go off a catalog. I gotta go off who's gonna perform better. But I don't know if the members of 112 and all stayed in shape. I didn't see Jagged Edge been on some like recent like new stuff recently. Mm-hmm. So I would probably say them. But okay, that's cool. That's cool. We're gonna go ahead and get into this before we like start a whole like these combos gonna be like when I start doing the live streams, like stuff like that, because like they can go on forever. But so who is Courtney?
I'm a lot of different things. Mostly I like to be a mystery, but I love to travel. I'm like a traveling homebody. I'm a mother. I love to cook. Um, I love a good, spa day. I'm just, I'm a lot of things. I feel like I'm a millennial, but I'm, right in between. So, I got like an old soul kind of, yeah. I'm a lot of stuff,
Okay,
but I like to be
cool
a little
deal.
mysterious.
So this is another question then, because I thought you was going to give it to us in the last question. So I'll do this then. Tell us about kind of like your early career, and then what you transitioned to, and then we'll pick up from there.
Okay. So, when you say early career, you mean like specifically in?
Kind of like your like my podcast. I always like to bring in people who pivoted from like whatever something that's totally different
Yeah,
from what they
yeah.
do now, and so it's
Okay.
kind of like where did you start, and then kind of what you got working up now.
Yeah. So, I'm a product manager currently. I work for Home Depot. I started in higher ed like probably like 13 years ago. Um, I shouldn't have said that. I want to date myself. Anyway, yeah, a while ago. And so I worked in higher ed for quite some time. I got my degree in communications. I enjoy working in higher ed. I worked like on the collegiate level, like in admissions. I was a director of career services for a while. I got a lot of fulfillment out of like helping other people, reach their goals to employment. But I also felt like I was reaching like a glass ceiling in a way. I kind of was getting burnt out after being in the industry for, at that point it was like 9 or 10 years.
Okay.
So the last company, well, school that I worked for, I was a director of career services, and I was using a certain software all the time that was actually like a software that was built to help students write their resume, find jobs, interview for jobs. It was able to like link with employers. It was kind of like a Indeed or something, but like for college level. And I thought it was really unique. And it was something that the software, like the company who made it, like they really marketed to be like this cutting edge, type of software for, colleges. So I actually was like, hey, I could maybe work here. And so once I realized that I was kind of like over just being in higher ed, I applied to work there and actually began working like as a partnership manager where I would begin selling that product to other community organizations, like other colleges, kind of like basically sales for them. And
Yeah,
because
that's what I was
I
gonna
was
say. Like pretty much like tech sales.
basically sales, but because I was like a previous end user, I had that experience of really like knowing everything that the product did because I had used it for so long. So during the pandemic, actually, obviously, we weren't, I wasn't out like traveling around and doing sales and stuff so much anymore, and so we took that as an opportunity to begin kind of like really ramping the software up to so that we can really kind of scope out the pain points of it. I didn't even know at the time like that was an actual career that people did. I'm just kind of like, okay, well, this is what I don't like about it, and this is when I was
Mhm.
using it. This is what I struggle with. I wish it did this, or I heard the students complain about using it and they didn't like that. Certain things. And the company is not a big company, so I had like face to face with the CEO and with the chief technical officer and things like that all the time. So in talking to them, they were like, well, we really value your experience and your opinion on it because you were an end user. So why don't you start helping us like with the data, collecting data from, because they weren't, oddly enough, they weren't collecting like any data from the app.
Wow.
Like there were no metrics. It was literally like build it, sell it. When people would maybe, hit us up and be like, hey, would it do this or that? Somebody would fly out and, like give them, a lesson on it or something like that. But it was very base level. And so I'm like, well, why aren't we tracking this? Like, why don't we know what it does? Like, why is it that when we want to fix something, we don't know how to, fix it or like what to fix? So I started really in what almost kind of seemed like getting into like being a data analyst for the product at that point. But then starting to like have conversations with the engineers about things that I wish that it did, or, having those kind of conversations and realizing like, I think there's a career that is
Mm.
here, but I don't know what it is that I'm doing. Um, so after that, I actually kind of pivoted a little bit back into education, but still kind of ed tech. I began working for a software engineering boot camp, um, where it's either 12 weeks or 9 months, where students can go and learn full stack software development. And working there, I was not coding or learning how to code, but I was really like seeing the student through the full life cycle of becoming a software engineer. And so I was learning, all about like agile and, helping them, with their job interviews and everything. And I'm like, okay, putting together this and also what I learned previously at the software company, I really think I figured out what it is that I want to do now. I think that's product management. I think it's like agile leadership, Scrum. So I started looking into just different like avenues for how I could grow and really started, using social media and LinkedIn and things to try and see, what it was that I was doing at that company, at the software company, like what is this translated into a job? And really taking all those transferable skills and realizing like, okay, I got a lane here. So I did get a Scrum certification, really to just help me kind of put the pieces together of like,
Hmm.
the life cycle of software development. And I also got like a Scrum product owner certification as well. But there's really no certifications needed to be a product manager. It's a lot about other things we'll get to, I'm sure,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
not,
we'll get to it.
to learn how to, you don't have to learn how to do it. And I know people ask me that all the time, like, oh, what's the cert for that? I'm like, you don't really need one. So I just kind of, I don't know, it just stumbled upon me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's dope. The fact, because I just had to let you cook because you was cooking because how you pretty much your progression of like saying doing career service and saying, we using this software that I like. Let me see what they talking about. Going from there, then just
Hmm.
pivoting and finding your transferable skills is kind
Hmm.
of one of the things I tell people about all the time when I'm having consultations with them, especially like it ain't nothing. I'll be like, it ain't nothing you use at your current job that you don't think like you may be interested in that you use like a lot that you possibly could be a subject matter expert on.
Hmm.
Because most everybody, it's so much information out here right now. It's like you said, oh, what cert I need to get, or do I gotta be technical, non-technical? Like
Hmm.
nobody knows because it's what I'm saying it's not uniform.
Yeah.
Nobody's
That is
path. No, go ahead.
Now, that is the one thing I tell people because I have a lot of people reach out to me like, oh, I'm considering transitioning to tech. And again, it's like tech, like this big, bubble of stuff that they can do. But they're always like, what do you suggest? And I'm like, what do you do now? Like what is there anything about what you do now that you would like to do and maybe build upon? Like just you have to start there because it's not, like I said, it's not a one size fits all. It's too many different lanes that you can go into. And I think the easiest lane, and probably what's safer is, to just build upon what you already know.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say like really. So tech is like the whole umbrella. It's like the whole industry,
Right.
and there's this thing. It's like some people aren't being honest. Like they need to like let people know like, hey, it's hard, but it's not hard. But it's not as hard if you're going non-technical than you're going a technical route because the technical route is going to require you to learn a lot of things and go up against people that may be already, as experienced as you.
Mhm.
And so that's
Mhm.
one of the things. But then once you go to tech, then you can start filtering in all these different areas. Like with me, cybersecurity, I just made a post on LinkedIn the other day telling people like, I know y'all be saying, oh, I want to be a cybersecurity analyst or I want to be a security engineer. I say, but honestly, those terms in themselves are very broad that a cybersecurity analyst at five companies could be five different things. And I was
Yep.
like, so you really need to understand what's on those job descriptions and really know what you really want to do versus just going off for a term. And they'll say
Mhm.
that way you actually be a little bit more effective at looking for roles because you're not just looking at the name, you're looking at the contents of it. Because recruiters hit me up all the time in my inbox about some stuff, and I'm like, yeah, this don't like what that is. Like,
Mhm.
so sometimes I'll ask them, hey, what does the hiring manager actually want for this role? because what's on here versus what you hit me about based on my skill
All
set, what's
the
on my
time.
LinkedIn,
Hmm.
the math ain't mathing, chief. So
Yeah, all the
that's
time.
that's that's how we get in with them.
Yep.
But enough about me because the people hear me talk all the time. So you pretty much have talked about, you started tech sales, pretty much lack of better words. And so
Yeah.
now pretty much product management. Let's talk about I want to probably do three questions and I meant to put this down for you.
Hmm.
What's the difference between product management and project management? And then based on that, once you describe those two, then you can tell us like what could be a typical, granted it's gonna be different, but for you, a day-to-day of a product manager.
Okay, that's funny because I saw the questions you had, and one of them was like, "What is something I wish you would have asked?" That was the one because I get that all the time.
Hmm.
Product manager. I'm gonna add another one: program manager, and then project manager. People use them interchangeably. I know for me, like working at a big enterprise, company like Home Depot or whatever, we have all of them. And then when you look at like the scope of what some of them do, they're just
Hmm.
throwing the word around, like we're doing the same thing or whatever. So I would say project management actually is what I was introduced to prior to being a product manager, and started looking at all of the books and everything to study to get my PMP. And I'm like, this is a lot, a lot of studying to get a PMP. But project manager is you can actually have one in tech, in construction, and it's a basically overseeing large scale products, but it's mainly like overseeing the budget, like overseeing the timeline. And then a product can fit inside of a project. So we have a project manager who oversees like our entire portfolio, and then my product is within that portfolio. So, as a product manager, basically, I am like driving the end-to-end life cycle, of a product of a software. My day to day is a lot of meetings, like meetings all day, meeting with engineers about any issues with the software that they're building, any issues with testing, meeting with the stakeholders about things that they want or need or want to see from the product, meeting with like other products within the portfolio who also may be upstream or downstream. That's a little technical from my product that because I work on a heavily back end product. So it's a lot of
Hang on,
cross.
wait for the listeners. You know what I'm saying? Let's
Sorry,
go ahead and
yeah.
give them some game. Look at you
Oh,
using all your jargon.
yeah.
What does that mean, back end? What does that mean?
Okay, so I work on the back end of a payments application at Home Depot. And basically, when we say back end, when you think about like a product and like the cool way that product management is really sold to people, like, yeah, you're building something and you get to pick all of the designs and the features and make it do this and make it do that. I don't really do any of that because we are really like calling, API gateway or, like creating routes for payments. Like it's heavily architecture on the back end,
Hmm.
but we have like a micro UI like this big that would be, on embedded into like, someone's page. But I don't work on like a super fancy, people think about like the product managers at TikTok and Instagram, like, oh, I'm responsible for this and that. I work on a very, very, very back end. Some people might even consider it a little bit boring for a product manager, because I'm not getting to be heavily involved in like design and UX and all that. But for me, I actually enjoy it because it puts me really, really close to the code, without actually knowing how to code. So
Code adjacent.
code adjacent, yes, very code adjacent. But I learned so much. Honestly, I kind of prefer it because I've had experience with like front end and a little bit of both. I don't know. I prefer the back end. It's kind of like you hidden, but you're controlling everything on the outside. Like
The
when
the
you
puppet
swipe.
master.
Yeah, like when you swipe your card to pay for something, my app on the back end is making sure that it's being routed a certain way, that your numbers on your credit card are being encrypted into a token and then come back so that we don't see, your
Mm.
credit card information and it's PCI compliant. Like it's on the back end, but it's super important if you care about swiping your credit card at the Home Depot and not having
Had to give you the
your credit
gunshots.
card information. Yeah.
That was like, you know, if you watching battle rap, like, yeah, talk that PCI talk. You talking that
Yeah,
PCI talk
that
because
PCI compliance talk for real, like it's serious. It costs the
yeah, because
company a lot of
it's a
money. So.
bag.
Mhm. So
It's a
yeah, I work
bag.
on an app that is very much dedicated to creating PCI compliance at Home Depot. So yeah, a lot of meetings. We do daily stand up. If you're familiar with like Agile or Scrum, we do a daily stand up, a daily
I
parking
hate it.
lot. Yeah. We do parking lot. I'm responsible for the backlog in Jira, all of our stories that we're working on. I'm responsible for, backlog refinement. Basically, full Scrum, they don't necessarily lean that much into Scrum as much more as they do maybe just like being lean or agile, but we still do all of the Scrum ceremonies. We do a retro, we demo. It's really hard to demo on the back end, but again, it puts me code adjacent. So I just trust that the engineers are doing what needs to be done. But yeah. And then other than that, like I said, it's just you in meetings all day. You got to really,
Yeah,
really,
man.
I think going to school and getting a degree in communications, and I'm like, well, I'm not even using this degree. And I'm like, yes, I am. I have to give presentations all the time, always talking, always, trying to build that social capital, with other, like other teams within the organization. So
Yep.
yeah, that's pretty much my day to day.
Yeah. See, I hate. Okay, so I'm knocking on wood. Um, I don't like my meetings because I don't like what I do. So that's why I really don't like meetings. Yeah. I recently switched. Like this will be the first year I did like two different jobs in a year, like at two different companies. Pretty much, I guess you would consider them competitors, to say the least. But I'm working on that because, like, right now I do more GRC stuff, which is not
Okay.
well. What I'm doing with the GRC part is not what I like. If I was dealing with more cybersecurity related, like threats type of stuff, I
Mhm.
probably would like it more. More, maybe some even like more auditing of like accounts and crap. But I'm not doing that. It's easy, but it's not
So we
fulfilling.
work really closely with cyber actually because we're PCI compliant. Like we're so heavily focused on that with our app. So we get Archer findings all
I
the
use
time from
Archer every day.
yeah, we get Archer findings that we have to remediate, to make sure that enemy can be the smallest thing. But I mean,
Gotta
being a
stay
product
compliant.
manager, yeah, being a product manager, I will say it has exposed me to so many other like avenues within tech because I can put all the pieces together. Like, oh, this is what you all are doing in cyber. You're sending us these security findings, from any type of threat detection that they, may say, hey, there you have a
Hmm.
vulnerability here. You might want to remediate that. We work really closely with DevOps for our applications to try and get those to be more automated, so that we don't have to, continue to spend so much time on them. Like I'm
Tell me
exposed to
about
so
it.
many different avenues of it, and that's one of the good things that I like about being a product manager is because if I ever really were to like pivot, I think
You
I'm
could
getting
pivot.
exposure, yeah, in so many different avenues, and I can kind of weed out like, yeah, that's not for me.
And that's the thing for we get into the next questions is I always tell people too, it's like, man, really just try to get in. Cause what you think you might like, you probably don't, you might not like it, but you might like something else once you start.
Mhm.
Like I did a one of my couple of episodes ago, I did on identity and access management. And one of my former coworkers watched, she's like, you know what, I think I want to do IAM. And before this, she's been doing like a lot of vulnerability management stuff
Mhm.
and pretty much some sim engineering. And so the fact, like I always tell people, that's why I just try to get so many different type of job roles on here. Like for the listeners and the watchers to see, like, so many different things. It ain't just, people with hoodies on hacking,
Yeah.
to be in tech. And I also like, I forgot what episode it was, but I was trying to tell people like everybody's like functionality is to either, keep something safe and also help the company to keep on making money
Mhm.
and
To keep
profit.
making.
That's the main goal. And if everybody understand that, you realize ain't nobody really more important
Mhm.
than the other. I don't care if it go from the person you call for the call center for about your benefits being messed up to, the highest of, exec person, like everybody is like all in it together. I mean, now pay
Yep.
ranges is different, but at the same
Yeah.
time, just you can't really
It's
do
all
everything
towards
without having those
the
people.
towards the common cause, and I have to meet all the time with like with cyber because they will say, hey, we realize we got a new, some fraud going on, and this is the pattern that we're noticing. Like, can you all help us kind of, talk through, like the architecture of your app so that we can understand how this may be happening. So I have to have so much communication with other teams all the time. But really, and sometimes I'm kind of like, well, what does this have to do with me? But then when they kind of get through it, I'm like, oh, I see, so it is a lot of collaborative communication for real.
Yeah, definitely. But so let's get into the next question real quick. Is like, how is it being a Black woman in corporate America? Oh, you know what? Hang on, wait. You know what? I didn't ask you. I got two things, and I want to ask you this.
Mhm.
I'm trying to do better. I forgot to write it in. For people, all right, I got two questions. One, what would be, and granted, we know this is based on range and where you stay, but like, let's say somebody, we can go from like entry level, mid level, senior level. Like, what would
Mhm.
some decent product manager salaries be? And then what type of people make good product managers if they're looking like to pivot from different type of job roles? Those will be my two for this next question.
Okay. So I'll start with what type of people I think would make good product managers. I
Okay.
think, and like if you're really good at communicating, it kind of goes to, I know you had a question about like what tools and things to use, and I kind of actually touch on it there. Like being a product manager is less about like the tools in terms of like the physical tools of software, and more about
Mm-hmm.
like you being able to be good at strategy, at planning, at kind of research, a ton of research, kind of knowing a little bit of data. I know how to code in SQL, I will say that. So knowing SQL is helpful, but it's a lot of communication and strategy. And I know that sounds like very broad, but really like my entire day is really like finding out a problem and then doing some research on it and then strategizing about how we can fix it and then communicating with another team on, hey, we kind of need you all to collaborate with us on this, or communicating it out to my team. I really have to make sure that I'm organized and structured in doing that. And honestly, you can get kind of bored or burnt out, like if it really doesn't interest you. Like honestly, people are like, oh, you work in payments, you work on the back end of a PCI compliant app, and I'm like, I like this, so
Mm-hmm.
you have to really keep yourself engaged as well, because I do think that people kind of make product management, I've seen it like, oh, it's just cool, you get to really just own this and make it whatever you want it to be, and that's not true.
Right.
So, yeah, I would say I think you really have to be a person that is really strategic, really, you have to have managed something before. In terms of pay, you could start entry level, like as an associate product manager, probably around like 90, in the 80s, I think, as an associate. And that's like, 0 to maybe 3 years of experience,
Mm-hmm.
like 90K or so, it depends, there are like the bag I've seen for product management in terms of like, becoming a senior. I mean, you're talking about like 160, 170, 200K, depending on where you are. Like it's for
Mm.
a, for a career field where you don't actually have to know how to code, it's very lucrative. And it's very necessary in most companies that have software. So yeah, it's money to be made.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for the fact is like, if you require the people working on the apps and stuff to do this crap, the stuff will never get done.
Hmm.
Like, so like if they always having to update and do all this other stuff and saying nothing would get done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's dope. And then the last thing, and I don't know what I'm thinking, and that's why I normally don't write questions down, because I think of the good ones as I'm talking. Is like,
That's
what would, I know we are talking about the ideal stuff. What technically, you know what, you already answered that, and I'll probably close out with that. So you know what, I'll leave it right there, and we'll go into pivoting from, and I guess you could say being a higher ed is kind of like
fine.
corporate America, but pivoting from higher ed to now being an actual corporate America. How has your experience been as a black woman? Like, many microaggressions. Can I touch your hair? All
Um,
the stuff that some of the things that y'all deal with. I don't really be dealing with that
yeah.
much.
You know what? I've been fortunate, like in my time and being in tech, to work 100% remotely. And so that is something that I do not, I don't miss any of that from working, like in a more of a corporate space, whatever, because yeah, a lot of the,
Now, if you guys are familiar with social media, most of the talk we see about is how to get into cybersecurity, how to get into tech. So a lot of entry level content. Well, if you aren't entry level anymore, then I have the course for you. I partner with LinkedIn Learning to give you guys a course on how to advance your cybersecurity career. This course is a short course dedicated to show you things that I learned in my personal career journey that helped me go from being a help desk all the way to being a senior VP in a financial institution. So, if you're ready to advance your career, then check out my LinkedIn Learning course. Link will be in the description. Thank
probably my very last job in higher ed as a director of career services. Oh, it was horrible. Like it was horrible. I mean, all type of microaggressions, all type of just. It was the worst. That probably was the point where I was like, I don't really need to keep doing this. I can do something else.
you.
I'm young. I can do something else, because one thing about like me being so young working in higher ed was like most of the time when you think about somebody who works in a college, you think about like an older professor or something. So I always felt a little bit kind of out of place anyway. But yeah, in terms of like my experience now, like in tech, obviously I don't see a lot of black women all the time in certain spaces. And so you really have to like find that community. But it has made my transition like from, in the past like 3 years that I've transitioned into being in tech, it has made it so much more seamless because I've been able to just really connect with women, join like different organizations, like really find my community, even if
Hmm.
it's not at my job, but just like joining, social media pages, like joining organizations where you can actually go and like do meetups and things like that. So I think the best thing about, I mean, probably that came out of the pandemic, but even just in being like working in tech and being able to be remote, in certain organizations is like, it really protected Black women from having to deal with all of that stuff that we used to deal with so much in an office. So, um, that has really been great for my mental health. I get to focus on doing my job.
Dope. That's dope. Yeah, man. I know for me, that's why you know what? I'm going to the next question because I'll be on here preaching. Um, what's the most important lesson you learned over your career? And I know you're early on into your tech career, but if you feel like it's something important that you've already learned, um, you know, you can speak on that.
I've learned tons of things. And I mean, in tech, probably the number one thing that I've learned like so far is that like it's okay to not know everything because nobody does. Like we're all learning, like everything is changing constantly. Everything it moves so fast. And so I used to feel like a real subject matter expert, like when I worked in higher ed, like, oh, I've done this for so long. I know the policies from the Department of
Mm-hmm.
Education. I know, FERPA and all this other, jargon from, education that I really felt like I don't need to learn anything else. I know all of this. Coming into something where, I mean, it was literally like learning everything from the ground up. I had a lot of insecurity around like, I have to know everything. And so I really had to let that go and realize that it's okay not to know everything. Just always have a willingness to like continue learning, be very curious, user resources. I don't have any problems now being like, can you explain this to me? Actually, I don't get it. Sorry, I don't code. I'm not an engineer. Like, what's that mean? I'm gonna say that all, like I'm in business. What does that mean? And really just being consistent. Like whenever I decide that, you know what, I'm not gonna do this anymore. I'm gonna do this. Like stick with it, even if it fails, being okay with failing, being okay with, maybe looking crazy because, you didn't know what you were doing. But that's really been important to me, like just being able to succeed, like even through failure.
That's dope. Yeah, I mean, I got a video somewhere. I'm telling everybody. Like, I think it was like when I started my interview circuit back up, and I was just like, Hey man, you ain't gonna know everything in every interview, and that's okay. Same thing go for tech. You ain't gonna know everything. And that's the beauty of it, is the reason why I chose to come here, because I can't do things where it becomes mundane and easy.
Mhm.
My mind starts shifting elsewhere and I get bored and I get agitated, which is kind of how I am, day to day for the last couple of months.
That's how it felt to me though. Like when I was like transitioning, I was like, okay, I'm like, what else can I learn about this? And I'm sure there was other stuff, but I was like, do I care anymore to keep learning this? But I have not in any way felt like that, like in the past few years of being in tech, that I'm just like getting burnt out on learning something. Like it's too many lanes. You can learn whatever, like there's so much to learn. I learned stuff that's not even, I'm like, why am I learning this? I'm not going to do this. I just want to know. Like, if somebody mentions something, I'm going to go research it. I might watch a video on a YouTube, read a
Hmm.
book about it, whatever. um I think truly, again, a part of like being a product manager, like you have to have that curiosity to keep learning.
Okay. I think this question will probably be a spicy one, maybe. What's one thing about your job field, of expertise that almost no one agrees with you about?
mm, I struggle with answering that one. um
You can skip it if you
I-
want to.
yeah, we'll skip that one. I don't know, I struggle with answering that one.
Got you. Okay. This is a fun one. I just recently started doing this one. Say, how would your parents describe what you do for a living?
um my mom is like a know-it-all, so you tell her something, she gonna go, it's probably where I got it from. She gonna go Google it,
Ooh,
research
that
it.
Slack message going off right now.
I know, right? She gonna go Google research all of it to make sure that so if somebody asks her what I do, she gonna say, "Oh yeah, she's a product manager and she's an agile." Like, yeah, my dad gonna be like, "She's on with computers," So, a little bit of both, yeah.
Mhm. How were they when you decided, hey, I don't want to do higher ed no more? Like, what would they was in support of that, or what did they think?
Um, yeah, they were kind of like, my mom was kind of like, okay, you learning something different. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do something totally different. And
Hmm.
honestly, she kind of like watched it, and initially she just was like, what are you doing? What are you studying for? What do you? But
Hmm.
she knows me. Like if I say I'm gonna do something different, I'm gonna totally commit to it. And so now she's always like, I just can't believe like you just changed your whole career and you do something totally different. Like they're super supportive of it. And my dad is like a low key like kind of like tech nerd himself, so he enjoys me talking about stuff with him as
Hmm.
much as I can, yeah. So
Okay, that's cute.
yeah, it's been good.
Hopefully, I can be like that with my girls one day. All right, so this one, because I asked you about this earlier a little bit, but like, what are like some underrated tools, softwares, or anything that you use like daily? That's pretty much indispensable to your job.
Yeah. So I guess, and like if I'm going to be technical about like what, if someone were interested in being a product manager, like what they would need to know how to use, for sure, like Jira, Confluence. Obviously, that's how we keep track of our backlog and user stories and all of that. Miro, we are constantly like, designing on Miro or just kind of creating a quick diagram of
Is
the
that like
product.
Visio?
Yes. Um, I think so. I'm a little bit
Okay.
familiar with Visio, but I think so, yeah.
Okay. Cool.
It's like a design. You can kind of collaborate. It's like a whiteboard. Yeah. So it's
Yeah, yeah,
Visio,
yeah.
like, yeah.
Like
So
flow
Miro's like,
charts and all the other stuff.
it's a whiteboard. Yep.
Okay.
So being, whiteboards are important in product. Maybe like Figma for design. I don't heavily use Figma now, again, because I'm on like a very back end product. But when I was like front end, I had to always meet with UX, had to always use Figma. Um, those are like the main like actual software that someone like if you really want to learn, like learning about
Hmm.
Jira, Confluence. But the rest, like I said, like knowing how to make a good presentation slide deck, because you're always going to have to present on your product. You're constantly having to present to your stakeholders, to,
Mm-hmm.
management, leadership. Like, this is what we've been working on. This is what it does. This is how it saved the company money. This is how it cut down on, risk and compliance and all that. So being a really good presenter, and knowing how to make a good slide deck, break things down so people understand them, throw in some visual effects in there, making sure that you can really, you're selling your product all the time, to the stakeholders, to, you're justifying why we need to get this done, or why we spent this much time on it, or why it costs this much money, so
Right.
being a good communicator, again, back to that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't say Outlook or Gmail or Slack or
Like, yeah,
Zoom.
everybody use that. Like, obviously, I
Man, you'd
am
be
in.
surprised. Some people don't know how to do some, like, make templates to set out status updates, archive.
You're right. We are in Zoom. Actually, we're in Teams. I take that back. We're in
Okay.
Teams all
I
day.
like Teams.
We are, yeah, sending emails all day via Outlook. Yeah, the normal, like, Microsoft Office, type stuff that you need to know as well.
Okay. So I think I saw you one day on Instagram reading something, whatever. So, what are like 3 books you recommend and why?
Mm, so I love to read. And so I'm like, scale this down to, I'm gonna scale this down to, like, product, because we can talk about books all day. I'm a nerd.
Hey, it don't matter. You could do one from product. You can do one from like personal. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like I know my favorite books is right now, and they probably not even dealing with cybersecurity.
What's your favorite books right now?
They have to be series. I would say I would probably say like anything by Carl Weber.
Okay, I used to love
Um,
Carl.
yeah, I'm currently watching like The Family Business like on BET Plus right now. They switched it up, but it got better. So I gave it a chance and it got better. And it's freaking I cannot think of his name, but I like him as an author too. He had this book called it was it not Married Man? It's like
Oh, it, I know exactly what you're talking about. I can't think of it.
yeah, I don't know if it's not Jerome Dickey, is it? That's not Eric Jerome Dickey, is it?
I want to say, I thought that was actually Carl Weber with that Mary, but it could be Eric
It's
Jerome Dickey.
well, no, Carl Weber has one Married Man, but then this person has one. It's kind of different. I think he used to be like four friends or something like that. One of them died, and then he had a little sister, and it was kind of like like they sister. One of the friends was talking to him. Oh, I know who. I know that's a different artist, but I mean author. But I do know another author I like, Travis Hunter. I like him.
Okay.
Um, and then I haven't read that book since high school. Like it's funny, like if I was going like to my other side of me, and like people like, what you was reading what in high school? Like my mom read books,
What were you
so
reading in high school?
So 1 week, or maybe I did it in 2 weeks, but my mom used to have all these books I know the author, so I'll just get her books instead of like stuff at the library. And I started reading, I want to say I read Midnight in high school. Yeah, I read Midnight by Sister Soldier. So I was reading a big old book. And one of my other friends, she tried to read it and she couldn't get into it. I said, you gotta keep reading. Once you get past this threshold, it's gonna open up. They gotta set everything up in the beginning.
When did you graduate high school?
2010.
Okay. Okay. Because I just thought about that. Like, when you said Midnight, I remember reading that. And I was
Yeah,
like,
my
high
mom had
school?
them.
Okay.
But
Well,
I
let me
never
not.
I never watched I never read The Coldest Winter Ever. Like it's some books that I gotta actually go back through and read. I got some whatever's back there. It's like it's a bunch of different books that's back there that I can't remember. But I will say one of the good books I did read in grad school was I put it in my freaking LinkedIn learning course, but it's about emotional intelligence and stuff like that. Like
Mhm.
that's a excellent book for anybody in their career to read because it really
I think
shows
I know.
you how to interact with everybody else.
Yep. Okay, so I do have a couple for, honestly, like, if for anything, honestly, because you could scrum anything. But there's a book called Scrum: The Art of Doing Twice the Work in Half the Time. It teaches you really about like Scrum, but also again, it just really talks about like how you cut out the noise of like over engineering something and just break it
Mm-hmm.
down. So that's one of my favorites. I actually have it right here. Oh, I actually have two of them that I would recommend right here.
I
Um,
found some. While you were saying, I found something that's helped me in my career. Even though one of them
yeah.
is actually like personal, but this is pretty good. It's cheap. The Latte Factory. It's
Okay.
about saving. And this was what is this? This is an old study guide, but this book really like turned me into a beast.
Okay.
And then this one by Chris Sanders, Applied Network Security Monitoring. Like this one right here is it's tough. It's tough. So I know they was like, man, what the tech stuff at? I was like, there goes some stuff for y'all. I got some more books they in my
Okay.
freaking
Good. Yeah.
bag
So I
that I'm feeling good.
Scrum, the art of doing twice the work in half the time. I think this is really, like I said, and I got it all tabbed up and everything, but really good book. If like you're interested in software development or really just in tech, because like you said, you all do stand ups and stuff. So that's kind of where that whole format comes from. If you want to get into product management, this is a good read. Cracking the PM interview. They also have a cracking the PM career. Again, it's not like I've seen like Google, product manager certifications, even like a lot of like colleges and stuff offer them. But I don't know if I could have learned. I've never taken one outside of like taking a product owner course, which is a little bit different. But um, I don't know if it's something that you can learn like, in a cert. So
Right.
yeah, those are like a couple of what I would recommend.
Yeah. And we're gonna put those links in the description for the listeners. And for the watchers, so you could go through and get those books if you're interested in product management, or if you're trying to get on the blue team, cybersecurity.
You said on the
So,
blue team.
yeah, blue team, yeah, because everybody's infatuated with red team, but blue
Mm,
team is more
that's
defense.
exactly the team. When I was just saying that a team had reached out to me last week about some fraud or like a threat detector, and it was the red team, and I was like, who is the red team, and why are they scheduling a meeting with me? And that's what it was. So
Yep.
y'all are the blue team.
Yeah,
So
blue and
explain.
like I don't know how they came up with the colors, but blue is more defense. So it's more responsive, or kind of like a mix of being responsive and proactive. So you got like your SOC, your incident response, forensics, like all those different teams. And then there's some other teams with even in the blue team where they are pretty much making up. And somebody described this perfectly on, I don't know what podcast some of this to, but it was like blue team is kind of like being probably like being like a football head coach or a basketball coach where you have to design play. So like a blue team, you got like use cases and different playbooks. Like so you making different alerts based on certain threat actors out there that could possibly, affect the company. And so you're making these and hopefully to catch them before they even like get close enough to affect anything. So you gotta hope that they work. And it kind of
Hmm.
reminds you like of a sport. Like you gotta hope that let me see who everybody like right now is a QB, man. You gotta hope Mahomes throw that touchdown. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of similar like that. Like you gotta hope is where you gotta hope and then this where, like you said, products and stuff come in, all these different tools that they spend money on with your SIMs, your vulnerability scanners, your firewalls, your IPSs, your IDSs, your EDR solutions, database management, like all these different tools. You gotta make sure they're updated with the latest threat stuff as well, because all they're gonna do is send all the logs into the SOC so they can review them. And if something happened like right now, if it's probably somebody working right now that's seen something, they reaching out to somebody because you don't want to be
Hmm.
like Uber and have no breach. But that's a short term. But I'm glad you asked that because me and my guy Eric, and for the people that's watching this, if y'all don't know, like y'all need to pull up to Afrotech because me and Blue Team Thomas will be there, and I
I'll
believe
be
Miss
there too.
Courtney said she'll be there too.
I'll be there too.
Um,
Um,
so I
Ask
guess
y'all
it's about
job
the Blue Team,
for it.
right?
Ask y'all job to
Definitely.
pay for Afrotech.
Because they charging a lot just for a ticket. I'm just saying.
They are, but you know what? I'm glad that like companies are doing it, and not even giving you any hassle on it. I appreciate that because
Yeah.
Afrotech expensive.
Right. So we got two last things I want to do because you kind of said this earlier, but what's one question you wish I asked you and how would you have answered?
Um. So yeah, that was the one about maybe like, do you need a certification or something for a product? But I don't know. I think that was the only. I thought of one earlier when I was doing something and I forgot. So I don't know, but that was the one. Was about certification.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the cert
Just
talk
because
is
I have
like
people asking that, and I know how you are. I've seen your social media about certs, and I think like they ain't worth the paper they printed on, or something like that.
yeah, well, it's certain ones that's worth it. It's certain ones that you can't take unless you have a certain level of experience. It's certain ones
Yeah,
that are actually practical. But then you got all these scammers that hit you up on LinkedIn trying to say, "Oh, you want these certs?" and like try to get you certs and crap. So they lose their luster. Not to mention, if all you do is just cram something for a week or two and study, what did you really learn? And we know this from being in school. Like, what did we really learn in any of them classes that we had to study and take tests for?
no,
So
I agree for sure.
and so that's kind of how that goes. And like people know me, like my TikTok right now, I put people on blast if I feel like you're trying to take advantage of people because it's this economy, this inflation is crazy. So to just try to get
How
a
would they
bag
be
off
trying to
people.
take advantage of them? Like charging them for?
Well, I don't care about anybody charging anything because, like I said, for me, I charge for my services. I don't care what your price is. Your price is, your price. I ain't finna go tell, Rolls Royce they charge too much, Mercedes, or go into a store I can't afford and say, hey, y'all need to give me a discount. Which I do hate when people hit me up and say I need a discount. Like, kill yourself.
Yeah,
But um, no, it's like if you don't have anything to support what you're trying to charge for, and then you just want people to give you their money, and everything is not transparent when you offering services. I have an issue with that. I had a
yeah.
run in one time with a woman, I guess that was trying to help people become what's the formal title for people that want to do Scrum Masters, I believe.
Scrum Master, yeah.
And knowing from people that already do Scrum Masters, like first of all, it's hard to just go from a cert and then go be a Scrum Master. Like you gotta have some type of experience
Unless you
or
have
know
some
some
good
stuff.
transferable skills.
Right.
Yeah.
And so she was, I forgot how much it was. So I can go dig up all the stuff on like how much it was to even just meet with her and all this other stuff. But I was just like, hey, what's the price? What the reviews at, who you help? And they wasn't answering. They was getting mad. But I'm like, I'm gonna always ask the questions that the newbies don't ask because they don't know. They just hear everybody saying, hey, you can go be a scrum master and like I'll let you help you be a scrum master in 3 to 6 months and then you're gonna make six figures. That's all they hear. So they ready to give you the money, not knowing everything ain't easy because there's most of the time if it's too good to be true, it normally is.
Yeah, and let's talk about that for a minute because I did used to be a scrum master. Like when I first started out, I was a scrum master. I feel like learning Scrum was helpful for me, but I knew that
Hmm.
that was like not it. Like I started as a Scrum Master just to apply it, and it was not very difficult for me to get a job again because I got transferable skills and I know how to talk. Um, you can, so I agree. Like you can't just go out here and get these certs, especially if you are like non-technical. You really have to know how to talk to what you're doing because it's different if you say, oh, I'm going to learn how to do this very technical thing. I'm going to learn how to code or this, whatever. You're going to get a job eventually with that skill. But if you just say, I'm going to go learn how to be a scrum master, which again, nothing technical involved in that. You're literally learning how to run like agile ceremonies. And again, scrum is important. It helps companies save money, and, helps products be delivered faster. But truly, it's not something that you can just go and say, oh, yeah, I'm going to go take this certification. I'm going to get a job as Scrum Master next week because this is not how it's going to cut it. Now, yeah, you can. I think my first job as a Scrum Master was in the six figures. Like it was. I was surprised. I was like, oh, okay. Y'all are going to pay
But
me
you
this
already
just.
had experience from higher ed though.
I had experience from working in the software, like in the software coding boot
Hmm.
camp where I worked, and also from working. I finessed the hell out of my resume. from when I worked with that software that I like the software company that I work for, because I did a bunch of stuff and I was like, you know
Right.
what? And they said I was a partnership manager. I was doing sales. Nope, I was doing all of this. Like,
And
because
that's
I
the benefit of going somewhere. And here's a gem. Because who said this? I think Boyd Clueless said this too. And I've heard this before, and I do realize this because one of my, I think my second jobs, they was like a small company but owned by a bigger company.
Mhm.
If you can start off somewhere small instead of trying to chase that big name and get your hands dirty and do a lot of different things, you're gonna be more, useful.
Yep. I remember like I was trying to create my own job like at that company, because it was like I
Hmm.
said, it was small. Like I could call the CEO's cell phone, but he was really like, "Oh, well, what do you want to do here?" And I'm like, "It's something I want to do. I can't put my hands on it." And like I said, now and thinking about it, that probably it was more along the lines of like product, but I was able to just get so close to it that I was like, "Oh, I can talk about this anywhere else." So I encourage people, like I said, go get a cert if you want a cert, if it's going to help you get that level of knowledge, but everybody not built the same. Like you can't just go and get these certs and think you're going to get a job and make all this money. Sometimes I think, I don't know, controversial topic, whatever, but like tech content creators, they make it seem like that a lot. Like, look at what I got, look at this car, look at this, look at this bag I got, and go get this and go get that. And then I have people God hit me up so much. And seriously, again, I'm not technical. Like I don't, I could do SQL. But that are like, oh, what should I do? I want to go make all this money, or they see like, a little bit about how I live, and I'm like, everybody not built the same.
Right. And then
You got
this one things we're gonna lead them with, and then we'll probably do that topic more in depthly on the live stream to wherever you ain't doing that, you can just pop up and
oh
actually
yeah.
really go off. And one of the things I talked about too is me and like and close friends talk about who actually do tech, which is all right. So two things I'm gonna tell you guys about like what's beneficial is like, once you get a tech job, whatever you do, find you a group of like-minded individuals and you guys become tight because you'll keep each other accountable. You'll say, if y'all talking about salaries, oh, that's too low. I wouldn't take that. Hey, they
Yes,
underpaying
that's
you.
super
All these different
got
things
people to
that's
bond
going to
for
help
that.
out because your regular friends make regular money and it's going to be hard to talk to them without sometimes sounding like you bragging or you trying to stun on them,
Yeah,
which is not the case, but they not going to understand your problems.
yeah.
But what I would say is for y'all out here that really want to make all this money, I want you to know these roles that really pay all this money, they you can let TikTok the day in the life fool you. Oh, today I just went, I got a latte and I got to work. I sat in my favorite cubicle, and
I'm not gonna lie, I love
this
watching those
this is the
videos
this is
though.
the outfit I had on today, and this is why I went to lunch. I just want to let you know when you really up there and you in them senior levels and whatever they got you marked internally HR wise, and they paying you big bucks, you finna be busy. She
Mhm,
said she got meetings all the time. They steady throwing me in meetings. What I didn't say while she was really like, she really was going in. I ain't say like they didn't pretty much kind of made me like a product manager over a freaking process that's like they just be adding stuff onto my plate because I came in. I worked for a banking company, so I come in VP level. So they just be throwing stuff at me on top of all these different meetings and stuff I be
mhm,
on. So you stay busy. So it ain't finna be like you gonna be working an hour and then you finna just do whatever you want to do. There
I'm not
are jobs like that where you just have to solve your problems and you're good. But if you got like a more of a soft skill communication focused role, it's gonna be
mhm,
hard to you do because people gonna be want to talk. And a lot of these companies ran by old people, so it ain't people like us saying, "Hey, look, bump the means." Like for me, look, this is what I suggested at work. I said, "Hey, man, can we use Loom? Like instead of all these means, whatever question you got, make the Loom video. I'll ask the questions on Loom. We'll answer them 5-10 minutes in the meeting, and then we done."
I'm
That's
gonna
what
look
type
into
of time I
that.
want to be on. Yeah,
I
I
have to
use
look.
Loom for my resume reviews and other stuff. It's like simpler because
Mhm.
in real time, if I say something about your resume, you can ask a question right there. And it'll say at that time stamp you ask a question.
Yeah,
Cause
no,
I
I actually, yeah, I agree with that for sure because I'm not gonna lie, like, again, in doing my research and becoming a product manager, I'm looking at social media, I'm looking at YouTube, really like,
hmm
okay, well, what does a day in your life look like? If it's because I think this is what I do for my what I want to do for my research, but like, what does this actually look like? You find so many little videos again, like, oh my gosh, guys, this is what I did today. Again, like, oh, I met with my boss. Oh, we did this. Oh, we did that. And I have yet to have a day where it looks like what I have seen on social media
Hmm.
or on YouTube, and that's just being straight up like when like it's a very, very busy job. Meetings constantly being thrown on your calendar, again, I enjoy it, like I really do, because again, I'm like a very curious person and I
And you're
love talking.
interested in the technology you're dealing with. See, that's
I
the
am.
that's the key. And I tell people, hey, you could try to just do it for the money. That's only gonna last so long. If you're a person that
That's
gotta be fulfilled, it's not gonna last long.
Yeah, yeah, I'm interested in it. Like, the more we iterate on it, the more I'm like, okay, like, okay, we're doing this, we're doing this. When I see the bigger picture of like, look at how much money we saved Home Depot. Like, look at how many of our customers we kept from, having their credit card information stolen. Like that for me is fulfilling, but also like to know that I'm playing a part and contributing to that, like from all the way down from my one little product, out of all the hundreds of products probably that are Home Depot. Yeah, like I like this. So I would just say, like, don't let social media or anything kind of sway you when you really are looking at a job, any job, but mainly, in tech, because I feel like that's the hot buzz thing right now on social media. Like, really do your research, understand how you are built and like what you really willing to do and deal with, because it's not all glamorous. It's a lot of
Hmm.
money to be made, but you got to work for this money for real.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the last one's like my biggest video on my channel right now is my day in the life video. And I got so many comments that were saying, dude, thank you for showing me what you actually do. Like we got people, I'm tired of going to videos, seeing people brushing their teeth and walking their dog and making
Fixing a
lunch.
going to the gym and be
Like I
like, yeah.
may do one like that, but it's gonna actually be like stuff that I also do. Like that's the thing, because one of my advice for people is like, hey, go research some day in the life videos, find the people on LinkedIn, reach out to them, and build your network like that, and see if they're gonna help you figure out how you're gonna get from A to B. But
Mhm.
what would be the top three things that you would want to leave our viewers with? Like if you could leave them with something, it don't matter. It could
Um,
be motivational, whatever.
yeah, I feel like number one, if you can work a whole bunch of jobs at one time in tech, do it. Make all the money. Like, don't let nobody tell you that you can't do it unless they fire you. um, I believe in tech stacking. Number two, I would say again, don't let social media try and tell you number one what you should be doing or what you're not doing, or end up getting you in something that you're really not built for. Like, really do the research. um and number three, like I think I said earlier, like be okay with like failing, or okay, this isn't it, like maybe let me learn something else. Like, just be consistent. Yeah, and I think, like I said, go make all the money. It's out there.
Oh yeah, that's dope, man. I'm just gonna tell you in the words of the great Lil Wayne, stop letting the messy hoes mess with your business. But this has been another episode of the TechTual Talk. You all know where you can find me. Courtney, where can they find you at online?
On Instagram, my name is Courtney B. Nowen, CourtneyBeknowin, no G. Yeah, that's pretty much where I be. And at work, I be at these jobs.
Can they if it's a person that's interested in connecting with you professionally, um, can they find you on
Yeah,
any
I'm on
LinkedIn?
LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. My name is Courtney Walker on LinkedIn. Courtney, Courtney Walker, Walker, or you can find me on Instagram. But yeah, connect with me. Ask me whatever questions that you have. I will try to, like, I get a lot just because, I wanna help people, but also I don't have a lot of time. Sometimes as much time as I thought I had. But please connect with me, especially on LinkedIn. I love sharing resources. Love meeting new people. Hit me up at Afrotech. Yeah, all that.
Oh yeah, that's a bit, y'all. Hit me up at Afrotech. Matter of fact, and you made it to the end of this video. Make sure you go ahead and check out my LinkedIn learning course, Advance Your Cybersecurity Career. That's be a tongue twister for me. When I was recording that, I kept on messing up on cybersecurity. But I appreciate y'all for rocking with us, man. And like I always say, let's stay textual. And